Hey, how are you? Hey, happy Friday, everybody. Thanks, production team, for putting this one together. I know it was last minute notice. Ben, thanks for waking up before 12. I appreciate that. Hey, it's a hectic time in the Petrone Wood Gym on a January 10th, Friday, 2020. Our second episode of the year of our second year doing it. It's great. Congratulations, everybody. This is our 46th one. So let's get it started with a great guy. Let's introduce him as super power, super smart, super elitist.
Elitist.
Sports agent, Sasha. I just go Sasha G because I'm horrible with English. Tell me your last name.
It's Ghavami.
Isn't that cool? That's a cool name. And he's half Iranian.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. So Sasha's here in town for 2 days. I got a couple of his clients staying with me at the house and have great success with his guys the last 6-7 years.
Yeah, it's been going on 7 years.
And we counted 8 guys.
8 guys.
8 combine training guys or pro day guys. And I loved them all. There's not one. Well, there's probably one. But, Charles, big shout out to Big Charles V. But they're all awesome. I mean, everyone has been awesome. And Sasha sends me the best guys to stay and live with me and be a part of my family. And I thank you for that. I appreciate that. All right. So I open up the show. Now, Sasha is a wood gym guy. He's a type A personality guy. He never stops. Before I ask you the one question, tell me the last 3 or 4 days and your next week and a half schedule as a sports agent from Montreal, Canada.
Yeah. So, I pride myself trying to work with Canadians who are going to play either pro ball in the States in the NFL or in Canada up in the CFL. So in January, it's always a pretty busy time of year for me because Canadians get invited to hopefully a couple of All-Star games. So like you said, you had a couple of guys, Cattell and Mark, training with you for almost 2 weeks now. I came into Dallas on Sunday, just this past Sunday, with actually Anthony Auclair's younger brother, Adam, who you saw Anthony for quite a bit of time.
Anthony plays with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, that's right. And Adam, it's his draft year this year. Is going to be for sure a high CFL prospect. Maybe get an NFL look. We're going to see how that goes. So he was in Dallas for a few days, and I had some time to kill before going to KC for the division game this weekend. And so I decided to come here. Figured it would be good to see the guys, see you, see Holly, get to see a little bit of, everybody, touch base, see guys from A3, Chad, Ike, and, kind of see get back in the wood gym. It's always fun to be here. So, and then heading off to KC this afternoon, and then after the game on Sunday, going to Florida to see Mark at the Shrine, and then on Tuesday hitting LA to see Cattell at the NFLPA, and then flying back home on Friday. So it's a good time of year. It's busy, but it's fun.
Wowee. That's a hell of a schedule, bro. All right, so I open up the show with a statement. I don't know if you've heard any of the podcasts, but for the athletes, when did you know that you were different? So I'll parallel that over to you of when did you know that you wanted to be this super sports agent?
Actually, I've wanted to be an sports agent, my God, since I was like 10 years old, I would say. It's kind of the job I discovered. I was following a lot of pro sports, played tennis at a high level, but knew that I wasn't going to make a career out of it. And really pro sports and in general, being in Canada, hockey takes a big part, but been following the NFL football since I was about 8-9 years old, and kind of discovered the role of an agent through hockey. Actually saw how players contracts got done, and thought that was interesting, kind of combining negotiations and law with sports. Kind of felt like a dream job for what I wanted to pursue academically as an attorney and also professionally. Didn't expect to be able to start as early as I did, but it's been good, being able to learn it and trying to do it the way I like to do it. And being in Canada, it's kind of fun to kind of try to help Canadian players who have the potential to try to get a shot and at least have a long career in the CFL, which is a great league, but also try to get them a shot in the NFL and helping them out there. And I think it's pretty rewarding to see, a few Canadians these past few years get an opportunity. Some have made the team, some have not, but be in camp and make the most of it. I think it's fun. And for me, it's kind of what makes it rewarding is not so much, where guys get drafted or what, because ultimately it doesn't really happen all that often. You see Canadian players get drafted, but it's being able to help them achieve their goals. I was talking to the guys last night, over a glass of wine. I was telling them, getting drafted is one thing, but you got to look at the statistics. I pulled up a stat in 2016 that Adam Schefter tweeted out saying that at cutdown day of the 2016 season, there were more undrafted players in the NFL that made 53-man rosters than first and second round picks combined. And so, ultimately it just goes to show, and for anybody, whether you're projected first round, you go third round, or you're projected, undrafted, you end up being drafted, doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, it's about how you can make yourself a name and how you can commit yourself to the league afterwards to be able to get to that famous second contract. So that's really what I try to take pride in with these Canadians, and kind of tried to develop it as well as I could.
And how long have you been doing it?
Started in 2013 in the CFL, and I've started in the NFL in 2015. So in the CFL, I'm over 6 years, and in the NFL, I'm going on my 5th year.
And how old are you now?
I'm 28.
Wow.
Yeah.
28.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's next?
Well, I think it's just, you got to ride the wave as long as you could. I think this business is hard enough as it is, and every year the difficult part is you got to restart. It's almost like you're starting a new business every single year, because you have to go out and you got to really go out and do the best you could and meet a new crop of talent and try to convince them that you're the right person to help them out. So every year, every draft class is different. It's almost like a different business you're starting. And I've always said to myself, I'm going to do this as long as I can and enjoy it as long as I can. And if the day I don't enjoy it anymore is the day I'm going to stop. And hopefully I don't see myself not enjoying it, to be honest. It's a thrill. Every year, all this traveling, I don't like traveling all that much. Once you get to the destination, you're like, oh man, this is the dream right here. What more can you ask for? You're watching football practices, and in between you're at the wood gym. So it's pretty good. It's a pretty good deal.
It's like your second home.
That's right.
Thank
you
for the States. I would say
Mm-hmm.
at the second office, when Sasha's in here and he's watching his guys go through two a days or 3 days, he's on the phone, sitting at the desk. I think when the agents come in, they feel at home here.
Yeah.
So take us through, just real quick, like I know, are you looking for the next Laurent? And then explain Laurent's story, kind of quick, but, how it went down to find. Are you looking for that? Because he was drafted 6th round with a pro day.
Yeah.
No combine.
Right. I think you're always looking for another Laurent. Laurent has a pretty unique story, playing up in Canada, McGill.
What's his full name?
Laurent Duvernay-Tardif.
And I always say it the opposite way.
And, he was... developed. He got to university, got into med school, and wasn't really considered a football prospect until he put on all that weight and ended up being a very, very good offensive lineman up in Canada. And we that's who I started with back in the day, and working with him and working with Chad at A3, and working with you, he was able to get drafted. Ultimately, it's testament to his development and who he was. But Laurent was a 6th round pick. A lot of 6th, 7th round picks that don't make the league after a year. He made it. And whether, like I said earlier, he got drafted, which is fantastic. It's a huge accomplishment.
Didn't play at all his first year.
His first year didn't play at all. He was on the 53-man, but he basically was a redshirt year. He sat out every game. But you look at Anthony Auclair, a similar thing. He was a draftable prospect, ended up going undrafted, but he's been in the league for 3 years now. And
and Laurent's the starter.
And Laurent's a starter,
right guard for the Kansas City Chiefs.
And so you try to find guys who can have the potential to make it, who have the mental component to make it. I think we often forget about that. We're very focused in on, the physical attributes. Yeah,
right.
Like his height, his weight, his length.
How he moves.
That's it.
Speed. Yeah.
But the NFL is a grind, and if you don't have the mental shape to do it, you're not going to survive it. And the guys who end up making it are the guys who the mental component's the strongest. And that's, I think, I don't have as many NFL clients as other agencies, and that's fine because that's not really my
Well, you're one of the
niche.
Happiest sports agents that I've been around. And we talked about that at the house, and that's the unique thing of being at the house with me is you're actually the only one that stays at the house because you always ask, hey, you want me to get a room or whatever? And I'm like, hey, stay at the house. Because you bring a ray of light, you're positive, that. It's even though you're not a Trump liker, we still love you.
Well, no, I think it's important to enjoy, and this business it can become so stressful, because you don't control much.
But how do you keep it so light compared to the other agents?
Well, I think I've developed a balance in my professional career in terms of I think the most stressful part of, I think, being an agent, when you look at it, is the financial component of it. Is, you know, ultimately your income depends on a commission on contracts that are not guaranteed, and basically on performance of players that you don't control any of that. So I've always thought it was important to develop a balance in terms of I still have a legal practice, albeit small, but has a good niche of clients that I can help wherever I am, and you know, that end up helping me.
What is the ratio of that from legal to sports?
I would say sports takes up, I would say right now, you know, 70% of the time, and legal will take up 30%. It's not a very big practice, but it allows me to know that I got other things cooking, that if I get a bad year in terms of not getting the draft class I want, or if guys don't go as high as I'd like, it's a disappointment as it's in its own. You don't want it to become a disappointment because you got to pay the bills, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I can make it this year or this month because of, you know, this issue. And I'm not saying it's like that for every agent, but there are, you know, the statistics, I think that out of all the agents certified, only half actually have a client that are on an NFL roster. So it becomes very difficult to make it.
Right.
So I think, you know, being happy, I think, is important what you do. And, you know, I think coming here, you realize that, you know, you enjoy what you do. And it shows, and that's why guys love training here, because it's a passion. The wood gym is the wood gym. And, you know, guys were saying last night, they were telling me, like, they told me straight up, Sash, you couldn't have been more spot on by sending us down here. Like, you couldn't have chosen a better spot. And that's crazy, because these guys have access to Instagram now, and it's like, you can get, you know, when these guys got accepted to the PA and to the Shrine, they were getting DMs about, hey, come visit me here. I got a facility down in Florida. I got a facility down here, and, you know, we can do good deals. So they got a lot of choices now. And so when they listened to me and they said, listen, I got to go to the wood gym. And they're like, what's this? It's in Knoxville. Where's Knoxville? And I said, oh, well, you know, I'll show you. You trust me. And they did. And they told me, they said, I couldn't have asked for better. But that's because of the environment. You just talk about the house, but it's the house, the gym. It's you, it's Holly. It's the whole component to it. It's true, because ultimately a training's a training, right? You can look at it a certain way, like, oh, I train, I can eat, but it's not the services that are offered. It's the relationships that are built. So I think it transpires with the personality of the individual you're working with. So I think it's important for me in my job to be enjoying what I do, and I hope that guys can look at it and be like, you know, I can actually, you know, Sasha's he's my agent, but he's also enjoying what he does, and he's passionate about it, and he wants to help me, and I don't rest till these guys get a shot. That's kind of what I've always tried. Whether it's a rookie minicamp, undrafted, drafted, long day, it's a shot, and you got to make the most of it. So,
well, I mean, your attitude is so upbeat, and you wonder, okay, is it because he's 27, 28? You know, is the sport agency going to beat him down like I've watched it do to so many guys? Or do you think you were just, you know, like you were born that way? Yeah,
well, I think it's because my approach is, I always look at it as every year is a blessing, is a chance to have an opportunity, because you don't know how long it's going to last. So if you put like this expectations of this business lasting another 30 years, which it may, and I'd be very grateful for it, I think you're putting yourself too much pressure. You know, if I can do this another year, like being able to go to the Shrine game with the PA is a huge, like, I love it. And every year I go, I always say to myself, man, I don't know if I'll be back. You don't know, you know, so you got to enjoy it, because next year you might not be back here. And we'll come down to the wood gym. You know, I've been sending, 8 guys now so far have been coming down. And
yeah, we did some stats on that. Specs got to pick it up.
Nah, he will. Laurent was Specs' idea. So, Spec is the one who kind of made it happen. Yeah. He introduced us to you. And that's how, I saw a place where, Laurent had a lot of success. But ultimately all that to say was, you get the opportunity and you got to take advantage of it. And I'm okay with that, because you got to put that expectation that you're going to last. It's going to last forever. And heck, you could have told me back in the day when I was 10 years old, Sat, you're going to have an opportunity to become a sports agent at 22. Would you take it? I would have, fallen, flat on my ass and said, you know what, that's it. I don't believe you, but if it happens, it happens. And ultimately, I've been lucky enough to do it, and to be able to have guys in the league and have guys in CFL and try to help Canadians make it. And I'm not saying no to American players. I do have an American player who plays in the NFL as well. Who played up in the CFL. That's a Canadian connection. He played up in the CFL before he went down to the NFL. But ultimately, it's an opportunity, and I think I was prepared for this job, but I think looking around and seeing how others do it, I learn a lot, but I also see how stressful the job can be. And I've always said that's why the legal practice for me is super important. I started my own little business of helping kids in Canada get to college sports in the States and in Canada. So that also was fun. Actually, had that business with my mom, believe it or not, it's kind of fun. We work together on that, and it's, just to diversify a little bit to make sure that you don't put all your eggs in one basket. And I think that applies in anything you do, because if you put all your eggs in one basket, then for whatever reason that basket starts to have holes in it, it's going to be a much bigger disaster than if you have it a little bit spread out. So
you are the, and I don't want to speak on your behalf, but you are the super sports agent of Canada, right? I mean, you're a pretty big celebrity. I've watched your Instagram or Laurent's Instagram. You're on a lot of different shows.
Laurent's a big celebrity.
Well, I mean, because, you guys are not only, clients and business partners with a relationship. You have a brother-brother relationship. So, but like, everybody always asks me, how do you get these guys each year? And I was like, well, Sasha's the top sports agent there. So the top guy, Sasha, not saying you don't have to recruit anymore to get the number 1, number 2 Canadian college football players that are trying to make the NFL. It just happens, right? Yeah, well, I think when I meet with them, they still want to be recruited. And they still look at their options because they do. There are quite a few sports agents up in Canada. There are quite a few people who can, who have an opportunity to, to recruit these players and all that. But ultimately, what makes it interesting is these players, they know the track record. They've seen the success. They hear a lot. They talk to other players that I represent, guys who are up in Canada. So I still have to go through the whole song and dance and show them what the plan is for them. But it ends up working out, and I'm glad. So far, I mean, it doesn't mean they're going to make the league, but I think you've seen the guys that come down here. They all are legitimate, and they're not bad football players. And they're really well above average athletes. That's right. Every one of them is. That's right. And often, but the mental shape, I love that word. I'm gonna own that word. I'm gonna put that maybe on a shirt. Of the mental shape is what I love about your guys. The mental shape. They're on time. They're 15 minutes early. You don't have to yell at them. When they're in the house, they clean up. They're respectful. I mean, and I would say the grace or the gratitude they have, like this crop of guys, Cattell and Mark, that walked in the first time at the Wood Gym. They were like, I'm finally here. Yeah. It wasn't like, oh, it's just a Wood Gym. They're like, I made it to the Wood Gym. And that's kind of neat. Yeah, and when I present it to them, it's always like, when I tell them about the Wood Gym, I tell them the same thing. I said, listen, guys, nothing fancy, but have you guys seen the Rocky movies? And they're like, yeah. I said, well, think about Rocky 4. And I said, think about when he's in the barn. And he's training and he's getting ready. And I said, ultimately, that's the mentality, that's the approach that I like. Is it's not a place with all the bells and whistles, but it's everything you need and then some to perform at the highest level with the mastermind behind it and the training. Well, I mean, that's the issue that I, from Radomir to my mentors, it's like, you're not hiring the facility, you're hiring the trainer. Right. And I try to pride myself on that of bare minimum and with a intellectual property of a nice workout. That's right. Exactly. And so I think, from that perspective, these guys were, I mean, every year the guys are awesome. But this year, they embraced it. The meetings I had with them prior to coming here, I said, listen, here's the plan for you. Here's what I suggest. Here's what we got to do. And they were on board. And, they were telling me last night, like I said, I couldn't have chosen better. That's a big testament to you and to everybody that's helped you, get to where you are and what we got going on here, because all these guys that have come down here, they've played pro ball, whether it's up in the NFL or the CFL, they've played pro ball. And so it prepares them for that next level. People talk about the CFL, oh, it's not like the NFL. You're right, it doesn't make as much money, but it's still pro ball and it's still the same. You still got coaching, the coaches you got to deal with, management, you got to learn how to become a man. And coming from college, sometimes that mental shape, you're talking about, and you were talking about, I was talking about it. Yeah. But I wholeheartedly believe in it, and I think that when you get to a certain point, you look at college football, you got a lot of good athletes, you got a lot of good players, but what makes some of them make it and some don't? What makes some of them, once they make it, really make it in the league, and some don't, is how do you approach a situation? How do you approach it? And I think the guys that have made it that I've worked with, I look at Laurent, I look at Anthony. I look at a guy like Matthew Betts. I look at a guy, like these guys, they have that mental component when they got in. And I look at Cattell, I look at Mark, I look at guys who are ready to put the work in. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if they're going to get in the league. I don't know if they're, where they're going to end up playing.
but they have the work ethic. And I think you've seen it, you know, with the weight gain and proper weight gain, the commitment. I mean, this morning, Mark was texting us, hey, guys, you ready to leave? And it was like, we were supposed to be here for 8, and it was 7:20. And it's like, and he was telling me, Sash, let's go. You know, like, got to get ready. I'm like, hey, I'm packing my bags, you know, but it's like, it was refreshing to see that it wasn't the agent going on the doors saying, guys, wake up. It was the guys telling the agent, let's go. We're ready to go to work. And what is this, day 13? You know? Like, it's easy to say, oh, we're at the end now. Let's just, and I was telling Mark, I said, oh, tomorrow's, speaking of today, I was telling him last night, I said, oh, it's your last day of training. He said, no, I'm going to get a workout in on Saturday morning.
That's right.
I'm going to get a workout.
That's what he was saying. And it's what you get. It's not what I got. And that's what you're saying is like, to wake a guy up is not a Petrone guy, and it's sure as hell not a guy that lives in my house.
No, exactly.
And you've always sent the best guys that I have to like first.
You have to.
Over talent, I have to like them first. It's not anything about I just look at guys different than most trainers and most sports agents, and I have to enjoy them. I have to love on them and crack on them, and we have to understand what we're doing together, and it's a together thing. And I guess I'll wrap it up. I know Sasha's got to get on the damn plane again. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, this guy's just jet setting. At some point, he's going to get a private jet. I feel it. What do they call them? PJs, right? Private jets.
It'll be written big Petrone sign on the plane.
Yes.
That'll be it.
Free flying for life.
That's right.
That's awesome.
First flight to Montreal for the Grand Prix. Apparently, that's what I heard with the private jet. That'll be the first flight.
Yeah, I gotta get one of my clients, DeBusk, up there to fly us and
right.
get the meeting. We'll do another meeting.
That's
with
right.
that. Yes, I gotta get on that. All right, Sasha, I know you got to get on the plane, and I appreciate it. And
this is awesome.
Thanks so much for the relationship. I love it.
Thank you, bro. Thank you for everything, and thanks for having me on the podcast. I like to listen to it, and it's good to see it, be a part of it now. That
We're gonna get a picture and then post it on the gram.
That's right.
All right, love you, buddy.
All right, love you too, man.
Thanks.